Please be seated. Let me add my welcome to you this morning. I'm Cole Austin, the Dean of the Faculty. It will be my pleasure later on in the ceremony to announce the names of the people before you who will be graduating today. It is my honor to do so. But before we get there, you may have noticed as you scanned the program that our speakers today are graduating seniors. Offering this opportunity to our students has become not only a tradition of the college, but also a signal statement about our values. It's difficult to choose only 2 students from among our graduating class. We firmly believe, we know, that each and every one of these graduates have important stories to tell us. We'd be here until tomorrow if we did that. But the students that you will hear have been nominated by our faculty, and they come to us offering well-won words of wisdom, born of experience, and of their academic study. Introducing Sarah Whitman will be Dr. Cassie Trentez, Assistant Professor of Theology, Ethics, Church History, and Chair of the Religion and Christian Ministries Department. Following her address, the President of the college, Dr. Andrea Cook, will introduce Dana Ingram, and then following, Dana has some fans. That's surprising. Then concluding the students' addresses, our musical group, Bridgetown, our men's musical ensemble, will come to offer 2 selections in honor of all of our graduates. Please pay close attention to these words of wisdom. Cassie?
Good morning. It is my deep joy this morning to introduce to you Sarah Whitman, one of us, one of you. A little bit of giddiness along with that joy. I had 2 finals with Sarah this week, 2 on Tuesday. At 10:04, started at 10 a.m. At 10:04 on Tuesday morning, 4 minutes into our final for Christian Social Concern, I asked the class, as is our practice, who is missing from among us? Sarah was our quick reply, almost as if we'd said it dozens and dozens and dozens of times before. Has anyone seen Sarah? Yes, I did, said another student, blazing in at that moment also. I just passed her. She said she had only 2 more errands to run, and then she'd be here. Sarah. 2:01, the same afternoon, Sarah walked into our church history final as we were beginning, glanced up at the clock, and stated out loud with surprise and pleasure, "I'm on time." 1 minute late, I quipped back, meeting her eyes. Sarah replied with a grin, but oh, how much I got done in that 1 minute. Sarah, you are oh so endearingly consistent. You know who you are and you own it, right? You own it. Almost never was Sarah in class at the moment that we began. Almost always she was squeezing the last ounce out of the thing she was doing just before class began. But she tore herself away from that thing, and she still always showed up. And when she got there, she was with us. She was present. She was with us. Your classmates are grateful for you. At the end of our classes, we would close with an examine. What was the moment you were most grateful for in this class? What was the moment you were the least grateful for in this class? And over and over and over, I read on the papers, I'm most grateful for what Sarah said today. helping me to see a perspective I didn't see before, to think about things I didn't think about before with such depth and wisdom and grace, steady, earthy. I have loved engaging your work. Sarah, you are here in this place at this time with these people for this work of celebration, and I am so proud of you. I'm proud because you have chosen to remain awake. I am proud because you have chosen to not simply skip across the surface, but to dive deep, to figure out what it means to be at home and to welcome others into that home with you. I am proud because you have recognized that a thoughtful, responsible, faithful, fully alive life does not happen automatically. It is cultivated with care and presence and attention. Sarah, you have been and you have offered us that care and presence and attention. Sometimes it has come a couple minutes late, according to the clock. But you have been and you have brought us good news in this time and place. We have been grateful to be your teachers, and we have also been grateful to be your students. Please join me in welcoming Sarah Whitman as she comes to teach us again.
We picked up our backpacks, slung straps across shoulders, stepping once more into years of school. We chose this route and have somehow ended up here. We're graduating. But more than that, more than recognizing our arrival, we are celebrating the fact that we have learned. That we have at times walked through the unknown, that we have been loved, and that we have a hope-filled future. In this time and place dedicated to learning, I have indeed learned much. Some in the classroom, in reading and in doing assignments, but still more from entering into relationships, leadership roles, and in facing my own self. I have learned that approaching God as an academic topic and approaching God as a person are not the same thing, and they will not yield the same results. As one of my classmates pointed out, asking, "Who is God?" is valuable. But it is in asking God, "Who are you?" that we find the assurance and the relationship we seek. For it is ultimately through continuing to engage relationship with God that we receive answers worth knowing. I have learned that loving people is worth it, period. I have also learned that loving people can be complicated. In striving to love well, I have actually caused some harm along the way. In my past 4 years, I recall faces and phrases marked by hurt, even as a result of some of my most well-intentioned efforts. But people are worth the effort. Caring for people is worth risking harm to self and maybe to others along the way. It has to be. I have learned that knowing a person's story makes all the difference. As I met individual homeless folks through internships, as I've had coffee and conversations with many girls as an RA, as we shared life stories in classroom settings, I began to see beyond what I could see, deeper into the core of personhood. When I know a person's story, I can no longer see them simply as a being that fills a certain role in the social order inside of my head. I see them more fully as they are. I have learned that I am broken. Relationships, leadership, and the stress in between have highlighted pieces of myself that I dread to see. Yet I have come to realize that maybe brokenness is okay. My faults and my failures crack the image of God upon my stained glass soul. And yet, the beauty of God remains. And God's hope from within the midst of brokenness remains as a guiding light. I have learned that sometimes there are barriers between me and the light. As I have sat in my room alone, as I have believed lies about myself, as I have found myself in conflict, I have found that it can be very hard to see the light. And it is when I cannot see the light that I forget who I am, who God has made me to be. Because of this, I have also learned that it is really important not to forget who I am, especially if I want to love others well. I have learned that we need each other. Living in the dorms, living in the city, I see that we were not created to be independent entities unconcerned with the matters of others. We were created for interdependence, as is evidenced by our interconnectedness. We literally could not exist without the multiplicity of roles that others play in our lives. And even if existence were possible, is it really just existence for which we are striving? Or are we looking for life to the full? We could not thrive without our connectedness to others and to God, the creator and sustainer of all. I could not have thrived without professors who cared, without dorm mates who lived life by my side, without mentors to listen and to prod me along the way. We need others, and they need us as well. Like every single graduate here, I have indeed learned much in these past 4 years. But as many others in this space would articulate, what I have found is that the learning itself is nothing without love. Without being loved, and without expressing learning in meaningful, impactful, loving ways, our learning itself does not matter. My hope for you then, for us, as we graduate, is that we would know we are loved, and that you would learn to give love as well. My hope is that you, like me, would know that love is a little thing. Perhaps the biggest, hardest, most all-pervasive little thing you will ever find. Love is a professor seeking me out to pray with me when I felt like life was falling apart. Love is a friend sitting on a dorm floor for hours to encourage and listen in a time of uncertainty. Love is working through the hard things because people are worth it. Love is sharing a hot dog with a stranger and asking to hear the stories of the forgotten. Love is being included, it is being known, it is being affirmed, but also sometimes challenged. I pray that you would see the love of God in the actions of those God has placed in your path. That sometimes you would see that God appears to us through others. To those who have been that to me, thank you. Fellow graduates, I pray that in being loved, that in seeing God with skin on, that you would be filled and transformed. God has created you and called you out of love. You've been called out, gifted, empowered, and offered hope, healing, and restoration through Jesus Christ because God has good plans for your life. You matter. You are powerful. And amidst the uncertainties many of us may be facing, know that none of it is uncertain to God. Know that in trusting a loving God, you will ultimately not be left hanging. We have been given giftings, opportunities, hopes, and passions for a purpose. My hope is that we will not let uncertainty rule our lives. I hope that we strive to listen to the voice of God. I hope that we continually look for the clues God has placed within our lives, the clues that point to our calling. I pray that we may find a place where we can use all of us, in all of our uniqueness, to make a difference. I pray that we become people who care more about loving well than about getting ahead. I hope that we will enter uncomfortable places to be agents of healing to the hurting, rather than being those who withdraw to safety. I pray that we step into the unknown, sometimes with boldness, sometimes with knees knocking, but always, always holding the hand of the God who loves us.
Thank you, Sarah. One of the best parts of my job as president of Warner Pacific College is sharing this moment with you. As I stand here, I am reminded of the countless stories and experiences that you have brought to this day. You have faced struggles, you've faced obstacles, you've worked diligently, and you have expanded your understanding of the world and those in it. Today, I'd like to take just a few minutes to share one of those stories of transformation with you. A few years ago, at a ceremony like this one, we saw a student graduate who personified the mission of Warner Pacific College. As someone who used his liberal arts education to make a tangible difference in the lives of those in our city. Rob Ingram was a beloved public figure and activist. Known for his dedication to Portland's families, he worked tirelessly to put an end to gang violence. Rob's unexpected passing in November of 2011 came as a shock to our entire community, a compelling reminder to use this valuable time on earth to do the most good. That is why when I learned that Rob's widow, Dana Ingram, had completed her degree and had been nominated by the students, staff, and faculty of our adult degree program to represent the ADP as a commencement speaker, I was eager to introduce this inspiring woman to all of you. Dana is building her own impressive legacy in Portland through her dedication to addressing homeownership and wealth disparities among minorities. As a homeownership program coordinator and advisory committee member at the Portland Housing Center, Dana is responsible for ensuring that services and programs are accessible for all people who seek to make a permanent home in our city. Dana has also built a reputation as a youth advocate, empowering children to express themselves through art and dance. As the co-founder of Urban Arts Dance Incorporated, a nonprofit accessible space for dancers from all backgrounds and skill levels to receive the professional training needed to pursue their creative dreams. Her energy seems endless, as Dana is also an active volunteer in her church, the International Fellowship Family, has served on the board of the Trailblazers Make It Better Foundation, on advisory committees for the City of Portland, Office of Equity and Human Rights, on Kukatonan Children's Dance Troupe, and the De La Salle Parent Advisory Council. As a graduate of the African American Leadership Academy, Dana was identified as one of our city's emerging Black leaders, and she's been recognized for her lifelong commitment to improving the outcomes in our community. When asked why Dana should represent her fellow ADP students in this year's commencement speaker, her peers had this to say: Dana is the perfect example of what it means to serve your church and community. I'm inspired by her to do the same, and I'm honored to have met her and have worked with her. And in the midst of attending Warner Pacific, Dana found herself a widow and had to learn a new role as a single mother. She is a great role model for us all. Dana would agree that the role of mother of her 5 children is her greatest joy. In the midst of her many accomplishments and accolades, it is when talking about her children's college pursuits that Dana truly beams with pride. When the faculty was asked to share their experiences with Dana, one professor eloquently stated, "What struck me most regarding Dana is her quiet resolve. She has overcome tremendous loss, and yet in the midst of the deep sorrow and pain, she remained focused, accepted her unsolicited role as a single mother, and never lost sight of her educational goals. Dana's strength as a woman and her genuine faith are the admirable characteristics that influence all of us who've had the privilege of knowing her. And how fitting that she is witnessing the fruits of her labor this Mother's Day weekend." I'm honored and privileged to introduce the Adult Degree Program speaker for Spring Commencement 2014, a woman who embodies the mission and vision of Warner Pacific College through her rigorous scholarship, Christ-like service, and commitment to seeing herself, her family, and her community flourish. Please welcome Dana Ingram.
Thank you very much. My mother gave me this handkerchief for my allergies, and I'm trying to hold on to it for allergies and not for any tears. Thank you, Mom. So, hello, fellow graduates. I am humbly honored to be the voice for the Warner Pacific Adult Degree Program Spring 2014 graduating class. I would like to thank those who had a part in choosing me among the pool of my highly competent peers. First, let us extend our gratitude to our support networks, those who have encouraged and grounded us throughout the years and allowed us to dream and gave themselves sacrificially as we desperately tried to better ourselves. I thank my friends, my parents, my dear sister, my nieces and nephews, and especially my dear sweet children. Ironically, my last business course was organizational writing and presentations, which was highly focused on building goodwill with the audience. Go figure. I believed that my persuasive presentation on the importance of life insurance was my last as a Warner Pacific undergraduate. Despite a mild case of senioritis, I was fully engaged and pressed on, delivering a great speech for my classmates. I remember the last slide, the conclusion of my 15-minute PowerPoint presentation, and the feeling of relief of another course completed. That same feeling that adult degree students get the last hour in week 5 of each course. But this was the finale. But not so much. I received a call asking if I'd be the voice of the graduating class at today's commencement, and without reservation, I accepted. But the moment I hung up the phone, nervousness, excitement, and fear slapped me in the face. I chuckled at myself for thinking that the presentation titled "Life is Good with Life Insurance" was my last. I laughed even harder at how quickly I accepted the offer, not thinking twice about my recent liberation from writing speeches and creating presentations, not remembering my personal vow to refrain from writing another persuasive, informative, or argumentative essay for a good long while. But this is an honor, to speak not only to my cohort and one professor, but the entire Warner Pacific graduating class, the faculty, our family, friends, and supporters here today. So after giving over 37 presentations in front of my Warner Pacific peers over the last few years, let's hope I get this right. As I pondered what to say today, I began to reflect on how I got here, right here, in this very position, behind this podium speaking to all of you. So I asked myself the same question that Professor Brandy Walton asked my cohort the first day as Warner Pacific students. Why return to college? Further, why Warner Pacific College over other adult degree programs? I remember the sentiments of my peers, their desire for job security and advancement, a boost of self-esteem and confidence, and the hope for a feeling of accomplishment. Someone had set out to finish college before their children completed high school. Others were first-generation college students hoping to change family history. Why Warner Pacific? A faith-based liberal arts college with a foundation set on core values of community, inclusivity, and service. The accelerated course format was very attractive. As seasoned adults, we find it extremely beneficial to get things done quickly. I'm finding that the older I get, time continues to redefine itself. The designated one-night-a-week classes that were fitting and accommodating to our lives and existing responsibilities. And the most appealing to me, no quarterly tests or exams. My years as a student at Warner Pacific College, delivering presentations, writing papers, and building relationships with my cohort and learning team was simply a part of the process of preparing me for this very moment. No final exams, you claim? I'm positive that this, today, is definitely my test. One that I didn't see coming, yet one that I will value for the rest of my life. I've learned, like all of you have, that tests are inevitable, and balancing school with family, work, and our commitment to our communities often feels like a tug of war. I realized that returning to school as an adult would be challenging, which is why I avoided it for so long. But I also knew that I had to do it. My husband and I started our family and careers very early in life. The motivation to obtain our degrees as adults were similar to those of my classmates mentioned earlier. My husband and I created a long-term plan that had him returning to school first, and I would return upon his graduation. Since we've developed this plan, my children have entered college themselves. They are starting their own families and striving to become good stewards of their communities, I hope through our example. I am proud to say that my husband graduated from Warner in 2009. And today, and only a few short moments away, will mark the completion of our family plan as I transition from a Warner Pacific College undergraduate to a Warner Pacific alum. This plan was not free from tests, life tests. I know each and every one of you have had your own plan when you started. And your journey at Warner Pacific hasn't been free from the tests either. The idea of returning to school, whether you woke up one morning and decided to go for it, thought about it for months, maybe even years, or maybe you were simply attending an info session and slipped and fell and ended up in a cohort. That initial thought or dream has bloomed into something great, something to be extremely proud of. I know that we all have our stories of adversity, that you've jumped a few hurdles in order to land here today. And although the road to get to this place included some detours, we need to appreciate that initial dream. The beauty of a dream is that you don't see the tests and challenges that you will face. You only see the beautiful image of a finished product. If we knew what we faced to get to this place, we may not have taken on the challenge, or perhaps tried to travel a different road. I'm sure that through this journey, adversity has met you at your front door, but you, my friends, have conquered. You've expanded your family, sent your own children to college, bought a home, lost a home, perhaps were under or unemployed against your will, or withstood a career change. Perhaps you've had to face more demanding tasks at home or at work, or maybe you've lost a loved one. Yet you are still here today. The most beautiful aspect of a dream, in my opinion, is the ability to dream again. I can confirm today doesn't look the same as that initial dream that I had. There are people in this audience that I now call friend because of my time here at Warner. On the other hand, there are also loved ones that didn't make it here today, but I know that they are here in spirit. I am here to remind you, Warner Pacific graduates, that yes, you have had tests and exams all through this time at Warner, and you, my friends, have passed. Now rest and allow yourself to dream again. There is a world out there that needs us, our vision and our determination to reach goals that some would deem impossible. Let us remember that the term commencement means the beginning rather than the end. With this accomplishment, you are ready to conquer the world. Together, I stand with you as we face new challenges, tests, that await us to push our agendas, advocate for our causes, and strengthen our communities and society. It will not be easy, but you can do anything that you set your mind to. So together, in the words of my late husband, let's get to work.
Thank you, Bridgetown. That was great, wasn't it? This morning, we have the privilege of recognizing 3 of our faculty members who have been awarded emeritus status. So we want to take just a moment to do a special recognition here in our commencement today. First, I'd like Professor Phyllis Michael to come forward. Phyllis is a professor of human development and family studies, and she's been in this role since 1993. She's chaired the Department of Social Sciences. She's been active in family education and counseling through Telos International. She is a certified family educator and has served around the world in Albania, Kosovo, China, and Lebanon. Students like to talk about Phyllis. In fact, I had some at my home the other night that were talking about Phyllis. They say that she provides practical material delivered in a creative and loving way. One student said she is my absolute favorite professor at Warner Pacific. I learned more than I thought possible. I appreciated her enthusiasm and spunk. Every Warner Pacific student should be required to take a class from Phyllis. She's influenced my thoughts and beliefs and helped me to grow stronger as a woman of God. Let's thank Phyllis for her service and honor her as a new emeritus faculty member. Dr. John Fazio, will you come up, please? John arrived at Warner Pacific College in 1978 as a professor of psychology. He was the chair of the social science department for a time, and he was the director of the degree completion program, the forerunner to the foundation of our adult degree program. He also served as a visiting adjunct professor at Oregon Health Sciences University, and he created the developmental psychology major through his study of brain physiology. He's been a nursing home administrator, and he's also participated with Northwest Medical Teams, now Medical Teams International, with assignments in Kosovo and India, and also did some work following 9/11. He's a certified trauma intervention specialist, and he built a strong relationship between Warner Pacific and TIP, which is the program that he's served with here in Portland. He's received the Faculty of the Year award many times, and students say this about Dr. Fazio: Faz is awesome. I'm confident that this course will be more beneficial than we currently realize as we go on in our lives. Fazio is a cool dude. He's patient, persistent, and a personality. He's easy to talk to, caring, and yet challenging. Let's congratulate and thank Dr. Fazio. Dr. Lou Foltz, will you please come up? Dr. Foltz came to Warner Pacific in 1976 as a professor in teacher education. Subsequently, he became the director of adult continuing education and summer studies. He's been the social science department chair and the dean of faculty. He taught courses ranging from cultural anthropology to learning theory and psychology of religion, which I hear lots about from students. He's also taught aging, dying, and death to adolescent behavior. He's a world traveler, taking students, alumni, and friends and colleagues. He's been to 57 countries. He can name a place, and you can name a place, and chances are very good that he's not only been there, but he can also tell you about where the best ice cream place is. He also will tell you about the culture and the truth about the world in which he's lived and traveled. Formal and informal, he's been a formal and informal mentor to faculty, staff, and students say this about Dr. Foltz: this class has changed my perspective on my future career. I will be a better teacher and follower of Christ because of this class. Dr. Foltz has changed my life for the better, and this is the best class of all my years of education. We had the seniors at my house the other night. One student said, "You should all take a class from Dr. Foltz," and then they realized that they're all graduating. So they missed that opportunity if they didn't have it. But congratulations and thank you to Dr. Foltz.
Each year, the college honors outstanding performances on the part of students and faculty in the areas of teaching, scholarship, and service. Last week, during our chapel gathering, each academic department identified students who have excelled in their own areas of study. These are listed in your program. Recipients of the Kendall Excellence in Teaching and Excellence in Scholarships were also recognized, and students announced their choices for faculty and staff persons of the year. We now move to the college-wide awards for outstanding performances by students. Dr. Glenn now comes to award the Milo Chapman.
I have the pleasure of giving out the Milo L. Chapman Excellent in Service Award. And what makes this award really special to me is the student does not know that they're going to receive it. So as I say their name, it's going to be as of a shock to them as well. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read a little bit of a description about the award, and then I'm going to give out the award winner, and I'm going to have them join me up on stage, and I'll say some great things about them, and hopefully they can blush, and etc. So, again, this is the Milo L. Chapman Excellence in Service Award. The Milo L. Chapman Excellence in Service Award is named for a man who served Warner Pacific College as a model of servanthood to this community. His association with the college spanned 46 years. During these years, he filled the position of president 3 times, served as dean, and in addition, taught classes on a consistent basis. Milo was a man of wisdom who listened. He was a counselor. He was an encourager. He was a mentor. He was a man of great faith in God. His life was a life of service. It's clear from the description of the award that Milo did quite a bit for Warner Pacific College, and the people who were a part of the Warner Pacific community during Milo's time also benefited from his service. He served in multiple positions and no doubt worked extremely hard to accomplish the tasks and goals for each of his respective roles. There's no doubt a resume of achievements is one important way to see who is having an impact as a leader, but you'll notice that it isn't entirely what this award is about. Beyond the titles and awards, the spirit of which Milo Chapman served is just as, if not more, important. Some roles like counselor, encourager, and mentor are earned through authentically living out the values of a leader who exists to serve. So, everyone, today it is my pleasure to introduce the 2014 Milo Chapman Award winner, and I seriously love this dude, Ethan Morrill. Say some really beautiful things about him. This guy's spirit and his heart is wonderful. Let me just give you a little bit about the things he's done. Ethan was a peer assistant this year, and when people had to talk about Ethan, they said he is willing to help out anytime. He always brings enthusiasm, and he has so much energy. He cares for people, and he is very relational. If you were a part of chapel this year, you would see that Ethan was part of the worship team. And I remember I couldn't make it to one of the things you were singing, but they showed it to me on video. Man, your passion just came through. It jumped out on me on the computer screen. He makes these animated faces, and he just really lives into the music. He also was a member of campus ministries in a leadership capacity earlier in his college career. He's a religion major. And when folks have to talk about him as a religion major, they say he's always thoughtful in his work, and he wants to apply it to his life. He took part in multiple religion internships that were connected to the community. He worked with Share Hope International, and after volunteering with Share Hope International, which is an organization that advocates for victims of human trafficking, Ethan was hired to run some of their programs. He also volunteered to shave his head to help raise money for the missions trip to Germany. Again, he genuinely cares for people. He's been a volunteer leader for some of our MLK Day service projects. And I remember, I think it was last year, talking with Ethan. He wanted to be a part of a social justice conference in Philadelphia, and he didn't have the funds, so he sold his iPad just so he could get the money so he could go to the conference. And one of the things where I really got close to my dear brother was we did a hip-hop lecture series kind of 2 years in a row, and I was able to teach a lunch and learn class once a week about the paradox of hip-hop culture. And he showed up, and he always challenged me intellectually and analytically. And brother, it's my pleasure to say you're the award winner for the day.
It is my privilege to announce the recipient of the Christensen Award. I'll say a little bit about the nature of that award, then I'll make mention of the person and invite that person to come to the stage while I do my best to embarrass. The Marshall K. Christensen Award for Excellence in Scholarship is named in honor of the college's 5th president, and it goes to the senior in the graduating class who best embodies the values characterizing academic life at Warner Pacific College. Faculty members nominate students whom they recognize as having not only benefited from the academic program of study, but also been engaged in co-curricular activities, ones that have made significant contributions to their classmates and their colleagues. The college is pleased to announce that this year's recipient of the Christensen Award is Mollie Berry. To receive the Christensen Award, a student must obviously have an excellent academic record, which means an exceptional grade 8-point average. It goes without saying. But the award also recognizes the rest of the story. And this could be said of so many of our students. The perseverance, the poise, the self-discipline, professionalism, the humility, the thirst for true, profound learning. On those accounts, Mollie's classmates have commented on her dedication, her willingness to take risks, her incredible work ethic and wide-ranging expertise. Mollie's teachers have remarked on her native talent that is combined with strength of character and commitment. Her love of reading, of print culture, and of learning in general testifies not only to her accomplishments in the classroom, but also to her eagerness to embrace her own education. Whether working on the student news magazine, the yearbook, the student literary journal, in all of these ways, Mollie's creativity, responsibility, and initiative inspire and amaze. Her imprint on those publications will endure long after her graduation. Combining her excellence in the classroom with her passion for learning, Mollie's career at Warner Pacific College has embodied the college's motto well. That is, where faith and scholarship lead to service. It is therefore our honor to present Mollie Ann Berry the Christensen Award for Academic Excellence in the year 2014.
It is my honor and privilege to bestow the Dr. Wilma I. Perry Award on one of our deserving graduates. This award is granted in the name of former faculty member Dr. Wilma I. Perry, who embodied many of the qualities that we at Warner Pacific College strive to instill in the graduates of our adult degree program. In her lifetime, Dr. Perry served as itinerant preacher and evangelist, and then as pastor of the Friendly Street Church of God in Eugene, Oregon. She earned a doctorate of psychology from the University of Oregon as an adult student, and then joined the faculty at Warner Pacific College, where she also directed the college's Center for Human Services. She was widely known for her speaking and teaching abilities, and as a gifted and published scholar. Dr. Perry's life was one of service, academic excellence, integrity, and transformation, and we honor her today as we honor the student who receives this award. The recipients of the Wilma I. Perry Award are nominated by their colleagues and then chosen on the basis of their evidence of transformation throughout the course of their studies at Warner. This year's recipient worked very conscientiously towards stretching and improving herself. Through disciplined self-reflection, she remained ever aware of her growing edges, sought feedback and assistance from the ADP staff to learn how to be a better student and a better learning team member. She pushed herself academically, often taking more courses than expected and working through adversity along the way. In the early days of her studies, she was dealing with a tragedy in her life. In spite of that, she always showed a passion for learning and participated in all of her class activities. As her studies progressed, she continued to face myriad challenges, all the while staying faithful to her studies and to her task as a single mom. She reported to us that she did this so she could create a good life for her son, and she's now considering graduate study to continue working toward that goal. Her classmates say that Mackenzie Kiner always speaks her mind, and in her heart of hearts, her deepest desire is to help people. According to one of her friends, this lady is a survivor. She's someone I'd love to have my daughter grow up to be like. I admire her, I respect her, and I love her. Mackenzie, will you join me on stage? Congratulations.
The college each year awards the A.F. Gray Award. It's named for the first president of Warner Pacific College. A.F. Gray demonstrated the living example of a godly life, a disciplined mind, and a warm and loving heart. In 1940, he declared that the college seeks to impart to its students knowledge of the great facts of religion and to build into their personality those noble characteristics of love, faith, loyalty, devotion. In short, the graces of the Spirit. That they may be qualified to serve Christ and his church. In order to uphold and honor these timeless principles, the college presents the A.F. Gray Award each year to a student who clearly exemplifies those high ideals. This year, the college honors Yesenia Delgado. Yesenia embodies the very characteristics A.F. Gray identified as the graces of the Spirit. As the eldest of 5 children, Yesenia grew up devoted to the care of her mother and siblings, and she continues to demonstrate a deep and abiding love for her family. While her childhood was difficult, Yesenia overcame adverse circumstances to excel in school and relationships. While a student at Reynolds High School, she became passionate about serving children and adolescents as a translator, advocate, and volunteer crisis responder. Serving vulnerable children for the glory of God has been a powerful step toward healing and redeeming her past. Key mentor relationships coupled with a steadfast commitment to follow Jesus Christ have informed Yesenia's development as a dynamic and influential young leader. An Acts 6 scholar with an insatiable desire to learn and love others, Yesenia leads with confidence and commitment. She has demonstrated integrity as she seeks out the intersection of her deep passion and the world's deep need. Yesenia has discovered that she can be of 2 cultures and follow one Christ. Her academic striving and community service have respected her Latina heritage, and she is able to function with intelligence and humility within a multicultural context of the city, blending her wide variety of coursework and her diverse cultural experience into a single voice for the Christ that she follows. Yesenia is graduating today with a degree in human development. She has served as a leader of the Student Diversity Council, been involved in student government, participated in a leadership development program with the Department of Human Services, and has served as an officer for Enactus. Additionally, Yesenia has represented the college at academic and leadership conferences, international mission trips, and numerous local speaking engagements. Yesenia is a generous, compassionate, and ambitious young woman who embodies the mission, vision, and values of Warner Pacific. It's with pleasure that the college community celebrates her accomplishments and is honored to name her the recipient of the 2014 A.F. Gray Award on this 10th day of May in 2014.
The Associate Student Body of Warner Pacific College will respond on behalf of the graduates.
Well, let's start by giving all of our graduates a hand. Thank you, Sarah Whitman and Dana Ingram, for your reflections on your experience as students here at Warner Pacific College. And congratulations to Mollie and Ethan and Mackenzie and Yesenia on your awards. We are so proud of each of you and all the departmental award winners that are noted in the program and all students that are graduating today. Congratulations to each and every one of you on the achievement of completing your college degree. You have achieved an important goal that is worthy of our celebration today. Yet we know that none of you have done this alone. you've had the contributions and support of others along the way. We just don't do life alone. And today, I know that many of you are accompanied by those who have been cheering and encouraging, supporting, and praying for you every step along the way. So let's take a moment and recognize these important people with our gratitude for their love and support. This is in part their celebration too. I'd like you to stand when I name you. First of all, let's start with the parents. Could the parents please stand, our graduates? Would you please stand? And siblings. And grandparents. Many of you have brought friends along as well. Would you please stand? In addition to the contributions of your loved ones, you have benefited from the commitment of the faculty and staff of Warner Pacific College. These educators have challenged and mentored and supported you throughout your academic career and learning process. I'm grateful to these individuals for the work they do. They offer their faithfulness and dedication as they share their knowledge, faithfulness, wisdom, love of learning with each student. Let's thank them as well. Completion of your degree is a noteworthy accomplishment for each one of you. You have come to this moment through various circumstances and paths. For some, this has been a 4-year or so journey through the traditional program. You may have experienced on-campus living and involvement in co-curricular activities, as well as service, learning, and leadership opportunities. And for others, your lives have included the balance of work and family, and maybe taken just a little bit longer to complete. Some maybe 10 or 15 years. But the adult degree programs provided you with a cohort of support and a format through which you were able to fulfill the demands of your academic work along with those of your life. Through either format, you have developed relationships that will extend throughout your lifetime. In our constantly changing world, you are likely to change occupations several times during your work life. So the aspects of your education that will likely serve you the best are your ability to keep learning, to wrestle with the big questions of life, to think critically, and to adapt to new and exciting opportunities. The next step of your journey may seem a bit daunting as you graduate. So I hope you will take with you the confidence that you don't go from this place alone. God will be present for each phase of the journey, whether it's a new job, a big move, graduate school, or an unexpected adventure. In the New Testament book of Ephesians, in chapter 1, Paul starts the book by sharing statements about God's blessing, interspersed with expressions about God's wisdom, forethought, and purpose. Ephesians tells us that the love and grace of God that we can experience is not just about our personal benefit, but is granted in order for us to bring praise and glory to God. Here's some of what this chapter says. How blessed is God, and what a blessing He is. He is the Father of our Master Jesus Christ. Long before He laid down the earth's foundation, He had us in mind, had settled on us as the focus of His love, to be made whole and holy by His love. It's in Christ that we find out who we are and what we are living for. Long before we heard of Christ and got our hopes up, He had His eye on us, had designs on us for glorious living. Part of the overall purpose He is working out in everything and everyone. I ask the God of glory to make you intelligent and discerning in knowing Him personally, your eyes focused and clear, so that you can see exactly what He is calling you to do. Grasp the immensity of this glorious way of life He has for His followers. Oh, the utter extravagance of His work in us who trust in Him, endless energy and boundless strength. Your vocation lies before you. Don't miss the opportunity to see the places you can apply your skills, knowledge, integrity, and faith to address our world's greatest needs. Our communities and cities need servant leaders who are compassionate and thoughtful in addressing the moral, spiritual, and societal and professional needs of our culture. We pray that God will go before you and lead you as you engage in the opportunities ahead. We are very proud of you and have been blessed by your journey with us here at Warner Pacific College. As you graduate today, we pray this blessing over you. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you, wherever He may send you. May He guide you through the wilderness, protect you through the storm. May He bring you home rejoicing at the wonders He has shown. May He bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors. God bless you, and may the hope, love, peace, and joy of Christ be with you today and in all of your future days. Congratulations, graduates of Warner Pacific College.
Good morning, and thank you, esteemed faculty, staff, family, and friends, for joining us in this ceremony. My fellow graduates, it is truly an honor to be able to stand here and to celebrate this culmination of what we've been working so diligently to achieve these past years. First, I want to take a moment just to thank a few people to whom I owe my place right up here. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here, and I know all of you have those people, so bear with me. Thank you to Logan Walton and the entire team at admissions. You were the first people I met when I stepped on campus, and you had me sold to come to Warner Pacific before I even left for my tour. Over the years, I spent many hours in that office, and very possibly more hours than some of the interns. I also would like to thank Dr. Tripp. I only took 3 of your classes, and you were never actually my advisor, but for some reason, you chose to always look out for me, and I am forever grateful. Thank you, Professor Campy, especially for helping me learn that running is not my preferred choice of cardio, but you also helped confirm my love for the human body and the desire to one day become a physical therapist. Lastly, I want to say thank you to my parents and my family for supporting me in my decision to attend Warner Pacific and to push me when I wanted to give up. I again just want to echo the charge that Dr. Cook shared with us. And I want to encourage all of you to leave today eager to continue pushing onward. Take some time to soak this in, but don't let it be the final destination. This wouldn't be a proper Warner Pacific speech without including a paradox somewhere, so here it goes. The end is only the beginning, and what I mean is this: our time as students at Warner Pacific has concluded. Now we have been prepared to go out and begin a new era in our lives, and to engage actively in a constantly changing world. If you have been around the traditional campus at all over this past year, you may have heard me talk about this once or twice. But we have two options in life, and we can choose one of these options as how to live. In Mark chapter 4, there's a story about how Jesus and his disciples were in the middle of a lake when a terrible storm appeared. Jesus' disciples were terrified, especially when they discovered that Jesus was asleep in the front of the boat. They woke him and asked, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" And Jesus got up, spoke to the storm, saying, "Quiet, be still." And the winds died down, and the lake was completely calm. This is where we get to make the decision as to how we are going to live the rest of our lives. We can either be anxious and nervous and not trust in our Lord and Savior, or we can put to use the knowledge that we have acquired here at Warner Pacific about who Jesus is. We can embrace the storms that we will confront in life, and we can climb to the top of the mast, the most vulnerable place of that boat, and exclaim, "Bring it on! I know who is in the boat with me." There's a word that I believe to best describe this lifestyle and the charge from Warner Pacific's mission, and that is the word boisterous. We all have passions, and ideally they fall under the scope of that degree that we just earned today. When I think of Warner Pacific College graduates, I think of people who are boisterous. They're lively, noisy, and unrestrained in their passions. That is what I believe it means to be actively engaged, like the mission statement of Warner Pacific. The choice is yours, but I challenge all of you that whatever it is that drives you, to do it in the most boisterous manner possible. This lifestyle may sound exhausting, and there are sure to be some obstacles ahead of us, but we won't have to go at it alone. We have each other, we have the networks that we have built up along the way, and we have our families. Most importantly, like I said earlier, we have God. In Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6, it reads, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you." Through the ups and downs that we are sure to encounter, remember these words. Hold on to them and press into our Lord and Savior. He is so eager to climb to the top of that mast with us and to say, "Bring it on" to whatever comes our way. I'm confident that the staff, faculty, and administration of Warner Pacific College have succeeded in preparing us to make these decisions. On behalf of the students of Warner Pacific College, thank you, Dr. Cook, for building a team of outstanding staff and faculty that is so dedicated to challenging us to become the people who are driven and passionate about making a difference in this world, and not in a quiet way. Congratulations, my fellow knights. Climb that mast with me, and let's get ready to take on the world. Let's be boisterous. Thank you.